Hey, what's up guys? Kids here for another video, and today let's talk about Aurora Links versus Relix because these are the two familiars that are coming into the game this time. And of course, Aurora Links will be the first one to be released, and he's going to be released after the update today. So if you're going to summon for him, this might be some good information for you. Links will be down in the description below if you want to check this link or page out, this website out, because this is where I'm going to be basing my information on. Okay, so this is Aurora Links versus Relix. Should you summon? And if you only had enough to summon for one, who should you be summoning for? Okay, so let's discuss. But before I discuss Aurora Links versus Relix, I'm going to summon for Aurora Links today, right after the maintenance, both on YouTube and Twitch as well. So yeah, catch my streams if you want to see me summon. I currently have around how many? 212 tickets and 10,000 diamonds. So I'll be burning everything on Auroralynx banner. Hopefully we get some good stuff. So if you want to join in on the fun, drop down on my streams right after the maintenance today. Okay, so see you guys there. Thank you, and let's get back to the video. Okay, so let's first start off with Aurora Links. Okay, Aurora Links is going to be the first light attack familiar rare that we're going to have. So let's take a look at his description. So everything here is just translated from the Korea, Japan servers. So it's an advanced server. So don't know if it's going to be changed at all for global, but yeah. So at a glance, a strong attacker who works best with an attack focused party, and then how to acquire. We know that he can only be summoned through gacha, no egg hatching, no taming, and no other methods. Okay, so for the skills, so for active skills over here, we have multiple hits of light damage that briefly stuns enemies. I think the stun here is the most important part if you're not going to be able to awaken Aurora Links, because I think at each awakening level, you're going to get percentage up in the damage. But if you really don't care about the damage and you just want an additional CC, additional stun for the enemies, then it's going to be good at even awaken 0. Okay, and then boost damage against enemies with flash debuff by a small percentage. So if you got flash debuff on the enemy, you're going to deal more damage. So it's almost the same like Tarracona and Pofu, right? Because for Tarracona, he deals more damage if the enemy is burned. This time for light, if the enemy is hit with flash, then you're going to deal more damage against that opponent. And of course, we're going to have increased damage. The spell of Aurora Links will deal so much more damage during the episode 3 or the Nightmare in Evermore episode, which we're going to have today as well. For the passive, each attack type familiar. Okay, so this is the same passive as Tarracona and Pofu, right? That you get increased damage based on the number of attack type familiars in your party. So basically, it's very good for your PvP, PvE decks wherein you have multiple attack type familiar. And for Familiar Arena, it has multiple hits of light damage to nearby enemies, briefly stuns enemies, and inflicts the flash debuff. So this one is actually pretty strong. Okay, this is actually pretty strong. So for the uses, let's just read on what they have here for the notes. So for PvE, solid attacker that works best with a full lineup of attackers, particularly Sparky, as it can take advantage of the flash debuff. Worker Bumbler is also an option, although Bumbler's flash has low accuracy. Okay, so for PvE, of course, you're going to use it in a light deck. Actually, you can use it in a lot of other decks that are not specific to that element, because as you've seen for the passive, it's the same as Tarracona, wherein you can add him to any kind of party, essentially, right? You can add him, especially if you have him at Awaken 3. Awaken 3, it's 2% damage increase for each attack type familiar though, so that's around 6% additional. So you can use him in any kind of party that you want, as long as you're equipping triple attack type familiar. For PvP, inflicting stun is one of the more powerful debuffs against enemy players, for sure, but a lot of players right now are actually getting a lot of status resistances or stun resistances, especially players that got Rimu, right? For the players that got Rimu and of course Black Knight armor, Dragon Slayer boots, those are very strong equipment against stun, so I'm not sure if it's going to be effective, but stun is still a very strong effect. Stuns can turn the tide every game whenever you use them. That's why Tarracona is very strong. Well, Tarracona has a lot of damage, but the knockdown effect from Tarracona is very strong as well. Okay? For adventure or dueling mode, this is familiar arena, strong attacker with 2 debuffs. Yeah, 2 debuffs. So we have flash and a stun. And it's also a ranged familiar. So it's a very strong familiar for overall every part of the game is going to be very strong, very versatile. You can put him in any kind of party or any kind of deck and he's going to shine. That's why Aurora Links is one of the staples that we have for the game. Okay, so that's with Aurora Links. Now let's take a look at Relics. Okay, so here we have Relixx or Rerico on the Japanese server. Okay? At a glance, a strong dark attacker with good debuffs that can briefly disrupt other players. Okay? Gacha. Oh, you can actually get him from egg hatching. I hope we get him. Okay, so for the skills, so active multiple hits of dark damage to nearby enemies, inflicts both bind and blind, increased damage to enemies with erosion debuff. Okay, so for the active skill, this active skill is basically going to inflict bind and blind. So if you don't know what bind is, take a look at the skill Dark Balloon. Okay, Dark Balloon will inflict bind on the opponent, also grasping thorn. Okay, so bind just means that the opponent will not be able to move from where they are, but they should still be able to attack and do some skills. But they are restricted for moving. They can't also roll. Okay. And then blind, if you've seen Arcane Barrier from the Swordsman, basically if you're in that area, you will not be able to see anything, right? So it's the same effect from Aurora Links, from Relixx. Okay. The only thing here that I don't see is the numbers. So the problem with not having the actual translation is that I don't see the numbers. So how long is the bind? How long is the blind? And yeah, I think those are the most important ones. And if you can get them higher, if you can get the numbers higher for each awaken. So I don't think so. I think it's the damage that gets upgraded every time you awaken. So if that's the case, then this is also another case of a very good familiar at Awaken 0 just for the effects that it brings to the table. Okay? Because bind and blind effect is actually very strong that you have it on your familiar. It's an additional CC that you have just by using an effect from your familiar. So this one's pretty strong, and of course increased damage with the erosion. This is corruption actually. So if you have who is it? I think it's only Hobgoblin that does corruption, right? So if you have them on corruption debuff, then you'll be able to deal more damage with the skill. But if you're not in it for the skill or for the damage, then it doesn't really matter, right? And I think this one also follows the enemies, so it's almost like a guaranteed hit for a bind and blind, so almost like Tarracona. I'm not sure for Aurora Links. For anyone that knows, let us know in the comments below. But yeah, for the passive, it's the same with Aurora Links, so yeah. And for Adventure or Familiar Arena, multiple hits of dark damage to nearby enemies, inflicts silence. Okay? Silence inflicts a debuff that increases dark damage taken by a moderate person. Wait, I thought for Familiar Arena it's the same effect. I'm not sure if this is correct, if it's silence, because I heard it was supposed to be bind and blind again for Familiar Arena, but if it's silence, I think it's still pretty strong. But yeah, he's also a ranged familiar that does an AoE attack. This is actually an AoE attack as well. So I'm not sure about the debuffs though, if it's a silence or it's bind and blind, because I thought I heard bind and blind before. Okay, so that's a problem right now. I don't know, so let me know in the comments below if this is accurate or if it is correct. But still, being an AoE ability that does a lot of debuffs, it's actually pretty good. But still, for Familiar Arena, Awakening is king, Jellies is king. So if you have a lot of stats on the familiar, I don't think it's worth it to be replacing them with Aurora Links or Relixx at a low awaken. So if you just have them at awaken 0, I think you're going to have a pretty rough time dealing with the high TP familiars right now in Familiar Arena. Okay, so for the uses, a solid attacker with 2 solid debuffs synergizes well with Dinosaurus, the Dark Attack. Oh, okay. So Dinosaurus actually is the one that inflicts corruption. Okay. PvP solid attacker, especially in attack focus build, a blind debuff will reduce viewpoint of enemy, be quite disruptive, and has good synergy with Ling. Who is Ling? Who is Ling? Oh? Oh, okay. Arachnis. It's Arachnis. Okay, I don't know who Sling is. But yeah, basically it's another dark familiar that gives a lot of utility on abilities. So for PvP, yeah, the bind and the blind is actually pretty strong. It can disrupt enemies. They don't know what they will do once they get blinded. And of course, bind will help you land your grasping thorns, your stuns, and all other abilities as a follow-up. Okay, so it's a very good initiator of fights for PvP, for Lava Valley especially. Okay. For adventure or dueling mode, solid attacker with 2 good debuffs. Okay, so it says here 2 good debuffs, so I think it's the bind and blind ability. So if it's not it, then let me know in the comments below. So I think overall, again, you can see why this guy is another, or this familiar is another staple in the Ni no Kuni game. Okay, so okay, for the verdict. Should you summon for any of these two? Should you summon for Aurora Links or should you summon for Relixx? I think if you are able to summon at least one of them, at least one copy, then you're good. They are both very good, very versatile, and you can use them for all of your decks for farming PvE. And their skills are already very strong at even just Awaken 0. Okay, so both of them, if you are able to summon for at least one copy of each, then you're good. Okay, you don't need to get as many as you can if you're really on a tight budget. But yeah, even just one of them, go for it. Okay, but if you're just going to summon for one, I think it just goes for the preference, right? For me, I just can't wait to summon anymore. You can summon for any. Actually, they're both very good. I don't think you should be comparing them with their abilities because their abilities are almost pretty similar. So if you're just going for element, then go for the element that you want because both of them have very strong effects and almost similar. Okay, so no wrong choice here actually. I don't think there's a wrong choice here. If you want to summon for Aurora Links only, then go for Aurora Links. If you want to summon for Relix only, then go for Relix. Okay, so I think it's just mostly preference at this point because both of them are really just very strong. Ideally, you get one copy of each, but if you can't, just select one that makes you happy. Okay, so that's for me. For me, I'm going to summon for Aurora Links. Again, twitch.tv/GidsGG or here on YouTube. I'm going to summon as soon as the maintenance ends. Alright, so see you then. And let me know in the comments below if you're going to summon for Aurora Links or you're still saving for Relic. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. See you again next time. Bye-bye.